Hi there, I am Mrs. Murrell. This is a video showing how to work the graphing test review. Good luck studying.
That was just because I just learned how to do that and I thought it was awesome. Alright, so anyways, number one, create a box and whisker plot with the following numbers. So to do a box and whisker plot, we first have to do the steps for the interquartile range. So that means that we have to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We have 11, 15, 17, 19. It's a good idea, and I haven't been doing it, to go ahead and cross them out as you're going so that way you can kind of keep track. 21, 24. I have 27 twice. I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to put it down here. And then 30, and then 35. Okay, so remember to do interquartile range, you first have to find the median. So you cross off small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big. And in this case, I have 2 in the middle, which means my median is actually between those. It's not either one of those, it's between those. So to find the median, you add those together and divide by 2. And when you do, you get 22.5. So now you are going to find the Q1, because remember the median is the same as Q2, so we're going to find the Q1, so we cross off small, big, so we go ahead and include the 21 because that's not really our median is in between, small, big, and so my Q1 is 17, so small, big, so my Q3 is 27. I know my smallest number is 11, my biggest number is 35, and then I have my Q1, Q2, Q3. So those are the 5 things I have to know to do box and whisker. So for box and whisker, I put a line, and oh man, these numbers are hard to see, but on your paper they're easy to see. So you put a line over the smallest number, which is 11, the biggest number, which is 35, which looks like right here. So I have my minimum and my maximum. Now I'm going to find the Q1, which is 17, and I put a line. I'm going to find my Q2, which is 22.5, so I have to put it between 22 and 23. And then my Q3 is 27, so I put a line there. To box, I box in my Q1, Q2, Q3, and then I draw my whiskers out to my min and my max. So there is a box and whiskers. So there's that. Next one. Oh, sorry, that was trippy. The next one says a restaurant has 5 lunch specials that cost $5.50, $4.30, $6, $5.50, $4.50 each. Which measure of central tendency will show the public that the restaurant has low lunch prices? So I know we haven't talked about it tons, at least in my class, but remember central tendency only includes mean, median, mode. So we can go ahead and eliminate range as an answer choice for this one because it specifically said measure of central tendency. So now I have to find the mean, median, and mode and see which one would show it has the lowest lunch price. And since we want which one's lowest, we're going to find whichever one's smallest. So remember to find the mean, we add them together and divide by how many there are. So we add $5.50, $4.30, $6, $5.50, I ran out of room again, $4.50. So we add those up and then we would divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lunch specials. When we do that, we get $5.16. The median is the middle number. But before you can find the middle number, you first have to put them in order from least to greatest. So $4.30, $4.50, that's a 5. It doesn't look like a 5, so there we go. Then we have $5.50, $5.50, and $6. Then we cross out small, big, and right in the middle we get $5.50. Then for mode, that is most repeated number, and in this case 550 is repeated twice. It's the only one, so 550. So since we want the low lunch price, we want the smallest one, so we would go with the mean. Let's see if I can do this without being too trippy. Okay, there we go. Jimmy wants to make a circle graph. This chart is really fuzzy on mine, but so the results are shown below, and it even gives you the total, which is nice. Sorry, there, right here's the total. So it tells you how many liked English, math, science, all the way down, and then it gives you the total. If a circle graph is drawn to scale, which of the subjects would be represented by 18% of the circle? And it says right here, rounded to the nearest whole number, so that basically tells me that I need to find the percent for each one. So remember, in order to do the percent, we actually first have to find the fraction of the circle and then change the fraction to a percent by doing top in the box and moving 2 places. So this is going to be kind of small for me to write on, so I'm going to blow it up just a little bit for now, and even though that doesn't make my numbers look better, it gives me a little bit more room. So the first one, English, is 46 out of, well, the total number down here is 180, so it's 46 out of 180. I noticed a lot of you guys got confused and you put stuff over 100 because you guys are used to, hey, we're talking about a circle, and a circle has to be 100%, but this fraction isn't a percent, it's the fraction of the total amount surveyed. The next one would be 40 out of 180, 32 out of 180, 26 out of 180, 16 out of 180, and the last one is 20 out of 180. So now we have all of our fractions, so we do top in the box, which means divide, right? So 46 divided by 180, and whenever I divided, I got 0.25, and my 5 was repeating. So my 40 was 0.22, my science was 0.18, 26 was 0.4, this is 0.09, and 0.11. I kind of rounded, so this one would actually round to be 0.26. So these are all decimals, but that's not what we want. We want percents. So remember to do decimals to percents. I think about Dr. Pepper and I move it 2 places to the right, so it would be 26%, 22%, 18%, 14%, 9%, and 11%. So now we can look back at our question, and it wants to know which one would be represented by 18% of the circle. So 18% was right here, so it would be science. Next page, Tristan's math scores are listed below. We're going to create a line plot. So first thing I notice is that I already have my numerical data, so I'm good. My line plot is labeled, but not all of them are labeled, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what it's counting by. So I look at it and I can pretty much tell that I'm going to go from 70 to 100 and it's counting by ones. So what I like to do is go ahead and label underneath like every 5. So it would be 71 to, well, let me get my laser. This would be 71, 72, 73, 74. So I know this is 75. So I'm going to go ahead and label 75. And then I'm going to do the same for 80, and then 85, 90, 95. So I kind of have a frame of reference, so I don't have to count over and over. This is 80, 1, 2, 3, 85, 90, 95, and I'm going to double check 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So now I have them all labeled by 5s. It'll make it a lot easier when I go to put these numbers on. So remember line plots, you just either put an X or a dot or something above where each number goes. So I'm going to use an X in this. So 88, so I go 85, I'll show you. So I go to 85, 86, 87, 88. So this right here is where it is. So above 88, I'm going to put an X. So I'm done with 88. I'm going to do the same for 90. 93, 83, 77, 96, 98, 88, which we already have one there, so I just put it on top, 81, 71, 75, 99, 77, we already had one there, so we have 2 on that one, and then 98, we had 2 on that one also. So there's your line plot, and that's about it. Next one, we're going to find the mean, median, mode, and range. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So remember, when you round to the nearest tenth, that means you actually have to divide out to the hundredths place to see whether you need to round up or down. So don't be lazy and stop, because then you're going to get it wrong if you round wrong. So remember to find the mean. I always think teachers are mean, they average your grades. So when you average something, you add them all together and then divide by how many there are. Not by 2, because a lot of you have been dividing by 2, but that means to divide by how many there are. So in this case, I add them all up and I would divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I added them, I think I got, I don't remember what I got, and then I divided, but I can tell you that whenever I round to the nearest tenth, I got 6.6. Median, I think about the middle of the highway is called the median, so I need to find the middle number. But that doesn't mean I can just start crossing off right now. Before I can do the median, I have to put them in order from least to greatest. That's a step a lot of people forget to do, and then you're going to get it wrong. So 7.2, 7.2, and 8.12. Okay, so then you cross off small, big, small, big. I have 2 in the middle. So when I have 2 in the middle, I have to find the average of those 2. So I add those up and then divide by 2. When I added them, I got 13.45. I divided by 2. I got 6.725. But remember, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So I'm rounding to this, so I look next door to round or not. So since this is 4 or less, we let it rest. So my median is 6.7. Mode means the most repeated number. So out of my group of numbers, I only have one number that's repeated, and it's 7.2. The range is the biggest number minus the smallest number, or the maximum minus the minimum. So 8.12, it kind of helps me. I already put it in order from least to greatest. 8.12 minus 5.3. Remember, when you add or subtract decimals, you line up the decimal. So underneath this 2 would be a 0. So then when you subtract, you're going to get 2.82. But we're still rounding to the nearest tenth, so this is 4 or less. We let it rest, so it would be 2.8. This next one, the scatter plot, shows the number of CDs in millions that were sold from 1999 to 2005. What is happening to the number of CDs sold? So I know this is not clear on this, but on your paper you can see that as time is going forward, so as more time goes by, the overall trend is the number of CDs is basically dropping. So this would be a negative trend. So I gave you a little bit of a helpful sentence starter. As time increases, we would say the number of CDs sold decreased. So again, as time increased, the CDs were decreasing. So this is overall a negative trend. Okay. Next. So number 7, Miss Merle surveyed her 5th period math class and found that they like chicken sandwiches in the cafeteria, which I actually did do that, and they do like the chicken sandwiches. So here's my shout out for 5th period. Based on this survey, a student states that the favorite lunch food for the entire school is chicken sandwiches, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know if a student really thought that. Which explains why this conclusion is invalid. So we want to know, why is that student's statement not true? Miss Merle did not know all of the lunch choices. well, I don't know all the lunch choices, but that is not why it's invalid, because we're thinking about like sample size at this point. Ms. Merle did not take the average of all the student responses. That one's not really the best answer because, again, it's not really talking about our sample size. Ms. Merle did not survey Ms. Stevens' 5th period class. That would have given me a little bit better sample size, but it still doesn't give me a good enough sample size for the entire school because Ms. Stevens and Ms. Merle both teach 8th grade, so that would not include any of the 7th graders, and it's still a small number of the 8th graders, so that's not really a great answer. So I would choose D because Ms. Merle did not survey a random sample of the entire school, including 7th grade, which is what I was just saying about why C didn't work. Number 8, the table lists the amount of calories for each of the different servings in one bag of candy. So we have a table and we have some graphs. We need to match the table and the graph, even though I didn't really write that in the question. So we need to look at the N and the C, and just so you guys know, when you see a table like this is the x-axis and the y-axis. So we're looking at number of servings, this along the x-axis, which they already have them labeled for us, and the calories are going to be on the y-axis, and they have those labeled for us. So we're looking for 1 serving should match with 30 calories. So I look here, I go over to 1 and up, and that one doesn't really match. So I know that one's probably not great. Look at my next one. 1 serving is not 300 calories, so that one's not really great. Next one, 1 serving, that's 400 calories, not 300, so not great, but I'm going to go ahead and check this one. 1 serving, 300 calories. That one looks like the best answer. Next question. Both of the following graphs show the average of SAT scores. Oh man, this is really hard to read online, but I think on yours it's good. Both graphs show the same information, but one of the graphs is kind of misleading. So these data points are actually exactly the same, just the way that something is about this, it looks kind of misleading. So before I even think about what's misleading, this graph kind of looks like all the SAT scores are pretty similar, whereas this one shows some pretty big like increases and decreases. So in my opinion, I would say graph A is misleading because the scale on the y-axis is too big and it makes the data appear very similar, or like you could say something about that it basically makes it look like the scores didn't really change over time. Number 10. Frank took a survey of favorite types of ice cream and made the following graph to show the results. Mine's in color because that's the way I made the graph, was actually in color. Yours is kind of hard to see this line in the graph, so I apologize for that. But I gave you the percentages out here on the side. So remember one of the most important things to look for when you see a circle graph is that all of the percents need to add up to be 100%, because a circle represents a whole, which is 100%. So when you look at these percentages that I listed here, what's wrong with it? Well, if you add 40, 40, and 30, is that going to equal 100? Absolutely not. So that's what's wrong with it. You could write it like percentages, that's my shorthand for percentages, don't add up to 100%. So you know something's kind of wrong and they're trying to mislead you, or whenever Frank did this survey, he did his circle graph wrong. Number 11, again, kind of hard to see on here, but on your paper it's not bad. What type of trend is shown in the scatter plot below? So remember, you can have some outliers that don't really go, but if overall the data kind of is going upwards, then it is a positive trend. The way I like to look at it is, if you draw a line here, can we make an N out of that? No, that's an upside down N, so we know that that's not negative. If your dots were going this direction, you could kind of draw a line here and make an N, so that would make sure that it's negative. So there's that. Number 12, write a conclusion about the amount of time studying and the Regents score using the data in the scatter plot below. So first of all, it's not really part of the question, but this again is going upwards. Most of the data fits in this general line, so we know it's a positive trend. So the x-axis is hours of study. So as the hours of study increase, the score is increasing, which I would say is a true statement. So I'll say the more hours of study, the higher the, I think it's called Regents score. So that would be that conclusion. Number 13, if Tom counted the number of cars that passed by his house, this is, sorry, a typo, okay, so we'll take that if out. Tom counted the number of cars that passed his house on Sunday. He counted 55 cars. Tom then said that he knows that exactly 385 cars pass by his house each week. Is this conclusion valid? If so, explain how he got his answer. If not, explain why it is not valid. Well, first of all, just how did he come up with 385? So there's 7 days in a week, so I think they did 55 times 7. And that's where he got 385, because Tom's assuming that the same exact number of cars is going to go by each week. So, do I think it's valid? I'm going to go ahead and say no, because he only counted on one day. And especially, he counted on a Sunday, which is not a weekday. So I'm going to put especially on a weekend. So it's not valid. Because you know that Monday through Friday, people are going to drive a certain amount to go to work or school or whatever, whereas on the weekend they might not be. So there's that. 14, what's the value of the underlined number in the stem and leaf plot? So remember, the way stem and leaf plots work is you attach the stem, which you find on this side, with the leaf, and you put those together and make your number. So in this case, we have a tenths place and a ones place, tens place and a ones place. So I'm going to connect them. So it would be a 7, and the underline is a 2. So my number would be 72. Number, I think I misnumbered and gave you an extra one, but anyways, no, 15. Using the line plot below, answer the following questions. Okay, how many people went on 4 vacations? So I'm going to look at the 4, and in this line plot, they didn't use X's, they used dots. So I just count how many dots there are. So I have 4, so that stands for 4 people. 4 people. How many people total were surveyed on the line plot above? Well, so in this case, you would just literally count all of the dots, and when you do, you get 19. Oh, sorry. Okay. Find the mean, median, mode, IQR, and range of the following numbers. So, just so I don't forget to do it later, I'm going to go ahead and put my numbers in least to greatest. I have 2 15s. 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so remember the mean, you add them all up and divide by how many there are. So you add them up and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers, so you divide it by 8. When you do, you get 15.75. I absolutely have to write the 0.75 because it didn't say up here round to the nearest tenth, so don't round unless it tells you to. Median, I have to put it in order from least to greatest and then find the middle. There's 2 in the middle, so technically my median, I would add that up and divide by 2, which is going to be 15. So there we go. My mode is the number most repeated, which is 15. So I'm going to go ahead and do the range. The range is the biggest minus the smallest, so 20 minus 12, and I get 8. So then I have to find the interquartile range. So remember, interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So before I can do that, I have to actually find the Q3 and the Q1. So I'm going to do the median of the lower half, so small, big. I include that 15 because that technically is not my median. This is my median. So between 13 and 14 is 13.5. So do the same thing on this side. I have 2 in the middle. It's going to be 18.5. So my interquartile range would be 18.5 minus 13.5, and I would get 5. Numbers 18, 19, and 20 are all going to be using this Venn diagram, which in my video is pretty fuzzy, but on your paper it's not bad. So remember, the crucial part is to read the information above the Venn diagram because it's going to tell you some crucial things like how many people took the survey. So I know 50 people took the survey, so I'm going to write it out here to kind of keep that in my mind. What kind of pizza they like to eat. They had 3 choices and could choose more than one. So remember, Venn diagrams are really great because they can talk about that overlapping data. So here's the Venn diagram. Here's our questions. How many people like Supreme Pizza? And I put in parentheses total because I wanted to give you a little hint that remember Supreme Pizza is this entire circle. So how many people total? So you're going to need to add up 9 plus 3 plus 5 plus 2 in order to get your total number of Supreme Pizza likers, and you would get 19. How many people liked all 3 types of pizza? So remember, in the Venn diagram, that's the part that's going to overlap all 3 circles, which is this section right here. So we know that 5 people liked all 3. How many more people like pepperoni than cheese? So pepperoni, I have to find the total for pepperoni, which remember I have to add all of my circle up. So my total for pepperoni was 30 because it's 18, 4, 5, and 3. And then my total for cheese is 6, 4, 5, and 2. So I got 17. So 30 minus 17 because it says how many more. That's a hint that we're going to subtract. And I got 13. So that's your review. If you guys have questions, come see whoever your math teacher is for some help. And good luck studying. See you in class.